Alright, moving on to Tier 5. Starting with Elimination at Silverstone, and now the upgrade time has decreased to 16 hours and whatever, 30 minutes in this case, but that is what you get with setup, I guess. One ad per category, so from 24 hours down to 16 hours and 30 minutes or somewhere around there. So obviously earlier you watch these ads, larger time chunk that you're gonna take out because they go by percentage, right? So basically 30% of 24 hours is much greater than, let's say, 30% of an hour. So one of those tips to decrease the amount of time, if you are, even if you're not planning on, upgrading things right away, just generally a better idea to get those ads going earlier versus later. You'll end up watching less number of ads that way. So that is, unless you enjoy watching ads, then, well, I don't follow my recommendation. But for now, here we go. We got an elimination at Silverstone Grand Prix. Grid of 8, so that is 140 seconds of race that we gotta do, which is, I guess, 2 minutes and 20 seconds that you have to survive. So the venues of these events typically don't make much difference. I say typically because on occasion, if your car is unserviced, you might just get left behind and unable to catch up to the rest of the grid within 20 seconds, which is, of course, a bit of a predicament since you will be eliminated first. But Silverstone Grand Prix, of course, we got that first corner relatively close to the starting line, so that's not a concern here. Alright, to overtake a couple more. Decent grip there. But just not enough power to shake off oddly. We need curves. Yeah, after this tier I might do another setup ads to decrease the third tier upgrade, since I like to wrap this series up and win this car without getting stuck because of upgrades or because of the PR requirements, right? That is rather frustrating. Believe it or not, at one point there was no PR requirement in Real Racing 3. I believe back in, let's see, when they introduced, I want to say it was a version 3.0 of Real Racing 3 is when they introduced the PR requirement, and that was a big overhaul of the game because that's when they introduced the whole career mode, where the game is played rather pretty linear fashion, right? And if you're wondering how else would you play it, well, let me tell you how it used to be prior, when they originally released the Real Racing 3 back in 2013. If you own a car, you can race anywhere. By that I mean any series that the car is featured in, and any and all series the car is featured in, basically. They did have some distinction between main, like bigger box series versus and the smaller box series, if I remember correctly. But you know, yeah, if you own a car, then you can race in any series that car is featured in. And because there were no PR requirement, you would come across some really goofy races that like you can basically have a race where the slowest car in the same group ends up in the same grid as the fastest car in the group. I mean, it still can technically happen, but you know, not to the degree where it used to happen back in those days, back in 2013. And let's see, what else was so special back then? Oh, compartmentalized service. So obviously now we get clean race bonus, right? And it pretty much repairs the car at the end of every race. Not service the car, but repair any damages, like, you know, broken windshield, or, you know, the hood damage, or anything like that. That was optional. And the services were all compartmentalized, which I miss actually quite a bit. I used to think that was one of the cooler part of Real Racing 3, so you can do oil change, or, you know, like you have separate service categories that wears out at a different rate depending on how you're racing. So obviously if you go off track a lot, then your tires wear out quicker, and then you would need to repair your tires sooner. And if your tire's worn out, that's going to essentially affect your grip and whatever. Actually, it would affect the rest of your performance, but more severely on perhaps grip and acceleration. Basically, you know, like the upgrades that they kind of address, as in tires and wheels upgrade, obviously increases your grip and acceleration. So if your tire's worn out, those two are the main elements that suffers. And you know, there's oil change that you have to do here and there, and if you don't, obviously your top speed and acceleration suffers. And yeah, things like that it used to be all individual compartment. So if you had to service all 4 parts, I think you can service them all, but they also kind of, you know, would mention that be aware of the fact that if you put at least one of them, if you service any of those 4 or whatever elements that they had, your car's out of commission, because obviously it's in service, you know. So in a way, nowadays you service like as a whole, as opposed to 4 different things, right? So you can think of it like right now, nowadays we have this one big service bars, right? Basically, think of it as being like 4 separate blocks of service bars that you can manage differently. So, yes, I'm sure there's still a way of downloading the original version of Real Racing 3. At least on Android, I know you can do that. I don't know if you can do that on iOS without, like, you know, voiding your warranty. On iPad, that is, or iPhone for that matter. So yeah, Good old days. I do wish that they kept that element of the game, and of course, they gave us something that a lot of well, what else changed? Level up bonus increased by huge amount, which was a big deal because I remember thinking I was around like level 100 something, like 100, low 100s, right? 110, 100, something like that when they changed the game like that. And I remember thinking, hey, I got 2 gold reward for every level up that I did. And now the new players can get like a lot more gold per level up. I was like, what gives, man? But in the long run, it all kind of leveled out because what they gave us instead was, or what they let us keep, was the unlimited mechanics on the legacy accounts, if you will. Because if I remember, that's when they introduced the version 3 is when they introduced that 3 mechanic cap. Like you start with 1, and if you want more mechanics, you have to buy them with gold, which is pretty lame. And even if you have more resources, you cannot have more than 3 mechanics, meaning you can only repair 3 cars at once, which can be pretty annoying. I mean, I'm running majority of this limited time series in unserviced cars, so perhaps people like me don't need unlimited mechanics. But when you're doing stuff like team events, it is super nice to have unlimited mechanics, I think, because you can rotate through cars and just throw them in service and go on to another car. And like when you have like stuff like distance challenge or laps challenge, or things that does not really require you to run one car, right? You can rotate through different cars, and if you have more cars, and if you can put the all the cars that you use in service after they go into critical condition, then you can rotate through a lot more cars, meaning you will be scoring a lot quicker. But once again, those are long gone days. I do think unlimited mechanics, or more mechanics than 3 limit, is, I think, way overdue. I'm sure most of you guys would agree. Just think about the size of the garage, right? If you have every single car, or if you own every single car, we're pushing 200 plus cars, and you only have 3 mechanics to repair them. Seems kind of, I mean, if I've seen something unbalanced, I think that is a definition of unbalanced. I don't know what you guys think. That's one of the things I think the game can improve, is the number of mechanics. Obviously it does not affect me personally, or well, in the game, that is. It does not affect my game, but I'm obviously not the only person playing this game, and the videos that I'm making are primarily for the newer racers, somebody that's fairly new to the game, because my tips aren't anything that anybody who's been playing for a while would know. So yeah, I think that would be helpful to have more than 3 mechanics. If it's not like, if you don't want to go with the unlimited, fine. Let the legacy players like myself have that, and that's fine. But, you know, here, let's check out how many cars there are in the game. I'm sure it's like pushing, I know it's over 200. I think that happened a while back. Tier 6, yes. I know, I'm not even talking about this limited time series in this video. I'm just babbling on about the game. Alright, how many cars are there? Okay, that's not helping. Let's go into the garage. There are 268 cars total. And they give us 3, or not me personally, but they give all the players that have started after version 3 mechanics. That is absurd, I think. I mean, they have to realize that. Anyway, that is that for tier 5. We'll see you in tier 6, so stay tuned.